before we could do any kind of trigonometric calculations, we have to learn the first step. And the first step is always labeling your triangle properly. You know, way back from grade 9, and you've been talking about this thing called the hypotenuse for ages. We all know that. We all know that it's the side that's opposite of the right angle, and that's the guy who's 90 degrees, right? Okay, so we got our 90-degree angle here, but I'm going to teach you something here called the eyeball method. Now, the eyeball method kind of helps you in labeling this triangle really, really nicely. So I'm going to show you what it means when you're doing this with the right angle, and then from there, everything else is just going to fall into place just beautifully. So look at this right angle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put eyeballs on him. And if you put eyeballs on him, look at this. He looks like he's sad, but the cool thing is that the nose is actually pointing opposite of the right angle to the hypotenuse. Yep, that's the hypotenuse. And maybe you can even remember this by saying, oh, look how sad this guy is. This guy looks really, really sad because all he's doing is he's staring across here and he's like, oh, what's all the hype about? There's a little ditty for you. Now, the cool thing here also is let's look at other angles. We can look at something, for example, like this angle up here. All right, now watch this. If you do the eyeballs method, this is really, really, really easy. So I'm going to put the eyeballs on him, and if you stare at that, look what he's staring at. Just like when you're in a classroom and you're sitting there at your desk, you're staring at the opposite side of the room where the blackboard is, or where the whiteboard is, or where this wonderful electronic thing we call a smartboard is. You're staring at the opposite. So in fact, your eyeballs are looking at the opposite side. Okay, that's a nice way to remember how to do this. It's the opposite side. So what's left? The only thing left is this guy right here, which we call the adjacent. This is called the adjacent side. What does the word adjacent mean? Adjacent means right next to the angle. And if you think about it, this is the angle in question. That's right next to it. Well, wait a second. You're probably saying, well, isn't that right next to it? Yeah, it is, but we already labeled that as the hypotenuse. So you can't relabel it. It's labeled as the hypotenuse. That would make this guy even sadder if you take his name away from him. Okay, so we're going to look at this kind of idea, and we're going to continue on to the next couple slides. Here we go. Watch. Okay, so eyeball method. Notice how big I put it right here. Very, very important, the eyeball method. But so we're going to look at this, and this is going to eventually develop into something we call ratios. We're not there yet. That's actually going to be the next podcast. So hang tough. Let's go out and label this guy. It says, look at this angle. This angle here we're going to call X degrees. And this is angle AOB. So we start here at A, we go to O, we go to B. There's the angle right here. Let's draw a circle around it. Now, let's start labeling it. Okay, so first things first, always start with your 90-degree. Eyeballs in him, look how sad he is because he's saying, oh man, what's all the hype about? Yes, of course, there's the hypotenuse. Now, put your eyeballs on this guy right here. Bada boom. What's he staring at? Well, just like you in a room, in a classroom, you're always staring at the opposite side of the classroom. Okay, you're always staring to the front. You're sitting in the back. You're staring to the front. That's the opposite. So you got two of the sides labeled. That means the side right next to them, bada boom, right there is your adjacent side. Easy peasy. Okay, so they've got a lot of stuff you can read here. You can pause the video right now and you can read all of this stuff. But I pretty much summarized it for you really, really nicely in this method. Okay, so let's keep on going then. Bada bang. Let's look at this one, do them very, very quickly. Let's just label them for what they are, and then we'll go from there. Okay, ready? Let's do the first one, A. Like I said before, eyeballs, the nose points at, yes, what is all the hype about? Circle this guy, circle that angle. We call this, actually, any angle that has the X or that's given to us is called a reference. Reference. I had to think about the spelling. Reference angle. Why? Because that's the angle in question in this particular question. That's the angle we're going to use calculations or to either find or use that angle to find out other calculations. Okay, so it's a reference angle. Put eyeballs on them. When you put eyeballs on them, look what happens. That guy's staring at the opposite. There we go. So you got hypotenuse here, opposite. That means this guy over here is your adjacent. Beautiful. Let's do it again. Look at this particular one right here. Again, eyeballs on the 90 degrees. That must be staring at the hypotenuse. Circle that reference angle. Let's put our nice little eyeballs on him. He's staring over here at the opposite. Beautiful. Excellent. Leaving us this guy right here. ADJ, there's your adjacent. That's going to become incredibly important in the next couple of podcasts.